And you're listening to the Golden Hour, and we will start things off today with an interview with Kutztown women's soccer head coach Erik Burstein. Coach, thank you so much for joining the show.
No, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, Coach, I wanted to start a little bit with your own background. What was your journey like to get the KU?
Yeah, long. Started my college coaching career as an assistant at a school in North Jersey, Rutgers University in Newark, a small branch, D3 branch of Rutgers University, and then stayed there for about 1 year as an assistant, and then 3.5, almost 4 years as the head coach, and then was fortunate to get a D1 opportunity as a top assistant at Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and I stayed there for a very short period of time. And primarily because my father had fallen ill, and Kutztown had opened right around that time, and applied and got the job, and have been here ever since, and have enjoyed it immensely.
So, when did you know that you wanted to pursue coaching as a career?
Yeah, I think in college, I was a little bit misguided, didn't know what I really wanted to do. My dad was a business professional, never went to school, started his own company, kind of started in the business realm, but always loved the game, had played at a very high level. So when I talked to some coaches that were just people who I'd worked with throughout my playing career, and they said, "Hey, look, this is an opportunity," it kind of struck me as being something very interesting. Started a soccer training company in New Jersey for a while. That went very well, but college ended up becoming where I wanted to be, and then it was just a matter of finding the right opportunity and being in the right place at the right time.
What has been the most rewarding part of your coaching career so far?
The players that you get to work with. I mean, it is, you hear a lot of, people say it's cliche, it's, we have an opportunity to make an impact on people's lives. And I think that is something that still motivates and drives so many coaches today. The relationships you build with these individuals, especially at a college level, when you're also, their academic advisor, they're, here when they, have a housing issue or a financial aid concern. So you do a lot more than just coach at the college level. And I really like that connection and the ability to connect with the student athletes through that.
Were there any coaches or mentors that you say have shaped your approach to the game?
There was a gentleman I worked with in Ohio by the name of Denzel Antonio. No one's going to know who he is, a former professional player who got me into coaching. But I was fortunate at Rutgers Newark, where I was a head coach pretty quickly. So I think my first head coaching job, I was 23. So I kind of had to shape myself in some ways. So a lot of failing, a lot of learning. So I really, outside of getting involved in the game through Denzel, a lot of the growth has been kind of trying to find what worked, what didn't work, and what fit me the best.
Yeah, and how would you describe your coaching style?
I think it evolves. I certainly don't coach the same today that I did in 2007 when I started at Kutztown. Everything, kind of changes. I think you have to adapt, not just to the teams and the players that you have, but you have to adapt to different generations. So I think that my style is one that evolves and adapts with the times and with the players that you have.
You touched on this a little bit already, but I'm curious what made Kutztown the right fit for you as coach.
I'll be very honest with you. First off, when I applied here, I knew nothing about this part of Pennsylvania. I'm from New Jersey originally. My father, who was diagnosed with terminal colon cancer when I applied here, was being treated in Philadelphia. So for my goal, for my dad, I am an adopted only child, and I'm still spoiled rotten today. But I wanted to be closer to him while he got treatment. So Kutztown wasn't far from Philly. I knew nothing about it. I applied, but got to campus, met the people, and I just fell in love with the place and felt like this is where I had to be.
Yeah, you have been at KU for a while now. I think this is your 18th season, and you've had a good amount of success while you've been here. What would you say have been some of the most memorable moments of your tenure here at Kutztown so far?
There's been a lot. I mean, we had a team that went to the Final Four in 2016. We had a team that was #1 in the nation in 2017. I mean, to be honest, every year provides some really great memories, whether it's teams that you work with, challenges that you face, players that have been in your program. But I think the 2016 season would probably be the highlight. The year we went to the Final Four would probably be the biggest highlight so far.
So, how have you seen the college game evolve as you've gone on coaching, both on the field and off the field?
Well, the NCAA is changing across the board, so how that's going to impact things moving forward is going to be interesting. But I think the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, especially from the women's soccer standpoint, you're looking at one of the top Division II women's soccer conferences in the country, top to bottom. There are great players, great coaches, great teams. throughout the conference, and the conference has really changed. But college is hard. I think it's, there's a lot of options, and with all the changes coming at the Division I level, I think the recruiting process has changed a lot. That's probably been the biggest change. I think things are changing on the recruiting front quite a bit. And then the youth soccer, culture and environment is also very, very different and changed. But from a college standpoint, I think it really is a lot about just in Division II and in the PSAC in particular, just how competitive things have grown and become over the course of my almost 20 years now.
What is the best piece of advice either another coach or mentor has given you that you still carry with you today?
Nothing really sticks out. I mean, my colleagues and the people that I talk to, we always, have conversations about, tactics and just different things. And there's nothing that really has stuck out. I mean, I haven't, having started my career as a head coach very early in my career, I've kind of had to find a lot of my own things to kind of keep me current, keep me, moving forward. So there's not one piece of advice that really has stuck out. I've just kind of, like I said, take it year by year and try to evolve and adapt to the best of my ability for my players and my program.
So I'll shift things now to the offseason. We'll take things back to before this 2025 campaign got underway. What did the offseason look like preparing for this year?
For my coaching staff and I, it was actually to take a little bit of a break, although we do run a lot of camps here because we do fundraise quite a bit. But it was a little bit of a decompression time for the players. I mean, our kids I mean, I'm very blessed and fortunate to work with the committed student athletes that I have in our women's soccer program here. They go through summer workout programs. Some of them play in the summer. For us, it was just a matter of trying to recharge. I think it's, as I get older, it is harder after every fall and every spring season to just kind of to recharge and reconnect. But yeah, I mean, the kids did a great job, getting themselves prepared for preseason. My staff and I continued to start, kind of putting some things in place so that we knew how we were going to start and where we were going to jump off. And our preseason was very short this year. So we had to have a number of things kind of sorted out and ready to go when the kids got back in August.
So the regular season is it's starting to wind down here. There's only a few matches left before we start thinking conference playoffs. And you guys are currently sitting at 8-3-1. What has been your assessment of the team through the first part of the season?
First and foremost, I love working with this group. They are it's a young group. We graduated a number of fifth-year seniors and seniors last year, and a large number of those individuals had contributed meaningful minutes and playing time. So we are, a very new team, a very young team, and the work rate and the commitment that these individuals have given to not just their own development, but also to their teammates in this program have been astonishing. The growth over this short period of time, especially from our freshmen, have been incredible. So I'm really, really excited about the long-term future of this group, but super impressed with how everybody kind of came in, bought into this culture, bought into our philosophies, and have really taken it and run with it.
Was there any, or is there any specific areas that you wanted to focus, or that you still want to address, for the final 4 games of the season, or things that you've already addressed in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think we just have to continue to find some consistency. We're in a really good run of form in the last 4 games. We have to continue to set out a tactical plan that our players can execute, which they've been very, very good at this season. Executing any really game plan we've put in front of them. But no, I mean, right now we're just trying to keep our kids fresh, keep them ready to compete each game, and making sure that the plan that we have for them tactically is on point and is easy to execute.
So you touched on it a little bit already, which was the youth of this roster. But other than that, what stands out about this year's group?
They're just resilient. I mean, a lot. We have 11 freshmen in the team, and we have a good number of sophomores as well. And all of these players have had to come in and contribute on some level. And I think that can be overwhelming when in previous seasons, either you weren't here because you were in high school, or you were a freshman and maybe not playing as much. But they've really kept the standards high. They've really done a really good job pushing each other and pushing themselves. And our program has a tremendous tradition. We've had 10 or more wins for the past 23 years, I think it is now. And that is a goal that they want to hit. And they are very committed to making sure over the last 4 games that they can find 2 more wins to make sure that they stay on course for that goal.
So, who has impressed you through the first parts of this season here? Whether it be someone that you kind of expected to already step up in a big way, or someone that new has come onto the scene that you maybe weren't looking at as heavily in the offseason, but are now really impressed with
Yeah, I
this
mean,
year?
there's a number, I'm probably going to leave somebody out, and I do apologize. Yeah, Natalie Ryan, or we call her Scoops, is a senior who has gone through a big developmental surge here in her last season, and has picked up some really meaningful minutes. Scored a brilliant goal against Shepherd that won us the game, and has just performed at a really, really high level. Charlotte Rao is another one who had come in her freshman year, got injured early with an ACL, and then has really worked hard to get herself back to playing speed and has been great, this season as well. And then, Caitlin Hankins is another one. Ava Schmidhauser was a freshman. The list, Mara Day was one of the leading assisters in the country at the moment. But there's so many. I mean, this group is not, down to those individuals. It is truly a family, and they really do work well off of each other and complement each other very, very well.
Yeah, with such a young roster, how important is having the experienced upperclassmen that you do have that can help guide them over the course of a
Well, it's
season?
extremely important. I think, playing college soccer when you're playing at a high level and you're playing in a program that preaches development and high standards and high expectations, I think people that have been in the program for 3 and 4 years understand what that feels like and what it's like to go through. Because obviously we have to have some positive friction here if we're going to get any growth. And sometimes for younger players, they come in having always played in their high school, having always played at their club. They get here and now all of a sudden they may not be getting as much time, and that's your positive friction. That's the challenge. And I think people who have been in the program for 3 and 4 years and can say, look, I've been there, I've accepted that, but this is a journey and it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you have to be committed to the process of your development. And the kids who do that tend to do very, very well here.
So, for you personally, after so many successful seasons, what continues to motivate you year in and year out?
Honestly, the alumni. I find a great deal of pride in having worked with some of the remarkable young women that I have, and the classes and teams and the success that we've had. They have a standard that they hold me accountable to, which is awesome. So anytime I see them, anytime I talk to them or get a text message from them, it's always about standards, expectations, maintaining what they have helped build, and making sure their legacy doesn't kind of deteriorate in a way. But I think that's what the motivating factor is. I want our alumni to be proud of what we're doing and what we continue to do. So anytime that we take the field, there is a focus on the players who have come before the current group, and making sure that we're representing them in the way that they would want to be represented.
What has been your message to the team throughout the season about the goals for this year?
I mean, I think one of the biggest thing is not allowing low standards or low quality to creep into our training environment. I think if you allow poor standards or poor quality to creep into your training environment, it becomes acceptable, and then it's really hard to hold people accountable to a very high standard when you take the field and play a game. So for us, it really is about making sure that our standards and expectations stay very, very high, and that we hold each other accountable to those standards and expectations every single day.
So, we talked about this a little bit before we went on, and then you brought it up earlier. But what kind of support have you felt from not only the athletic department here at Kutztown, but the KU community over the years?
Sure. I mean, first off, if you haven't attended a women's soccer game, we get a tremendous turnout, and the fan involvement and the student body have been just remarkable. So we can't thank them enough. But I've worked through two athletic directors now. Renee Hellert, who's our current AD, has been remarkable. Has done a great job for us and has really pulled things together, and is guiding our department into a really good time, and does a tremendous job. And Matt Santos, our vice president, also very supportive, always quick to be at a game, drop an email, shake your hand afterwards. So you do feel the support from the administration, and I certainly think that makes the environment that we work in a great one, but it also makes us want to be successful because we know the people that we're working for also care and are pushing to help drive our success as well.
Yeah, not that you need me to vouch, but I definitely will. I've been to quite a few
Yes.
women's soccer games. The environment there is fantastic. So, my final question to you is, this is one I like to end every interview with. Just what is your message to the Kutztown community about this year's team?
Well, I think this year's team and teams in the past, we take great pride in representing this wonderful university and our athletic department. So, everything that we do, from the way that we train, how we travel, and the way that we take the field and the way that we perform, we do that as a very proud group of Kutztown University students first. So we are very much want to represent this institution in a respectful and classy manner. And we try to show support and thanks for not only just the administration, but the student body and the people who attend our games. So it is, the message we want to send is that, we're here, trying to fight every day for the Golden Bears. And we appreciate all the support we've had. And we do that with a great deal of pride for this university and the people who are a part of it.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on the show, and
It's a pleasure.
Good luck the rest of the way. You're
Thank you.
listening to the Golden Hour. We'll have more for you on the other end. We will briefly step aside. It is the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown. That was head coach Erik Burstein, who was on the Golden Hour here. It was great to get him on. He is the head women's soccer coach. For those of you who are just joining us, we just had him. Would encourage you to check out that interview. If you missed it, we'll be on Spotify or Podbean or any ways that you get Kutztown University Radio a little bit later today. We'll also be on the Golden Hour YouTube channel. Shameless plug there. Check that out. I'm Tommy Scuderi here with you, and yeah, Coach Burstein, he said a lot of great things. The big underlying message that he was given was that this is a young group, but it's a group that's kind of exceeded expectations. Anytime you have 11 freshmen that are contributing meaningfully, you don't necessarily expect to have a fantastic season. Not that you go in thinking, okay, we're going to lose every game, but they're 8-3-1. It's this Kutztown women's soccer team. They're just coming off a scoreless tie against Millersville on October the 15th. That was on the road. They won on Saturday, October 11th. That was their senior day, about 9 days or so ago. 2-0. And then beat Shepherd 1-0 on the road as well. Shepherd, always a tough team. Number one in the East as it stands. Kutztown was able to go on the road and beat them 1-0, a big-time goal, after beating number 25 ranked Bloomsburg 1-0 as well. That one being at home. But only 4 games, whatever you want to call it, remain for this Kutztown women's soccer team before they get to the PSAC tournament. Hopefully, this will be a Kutztown team that qualifies. They're searching for 10 wins. That's a mark that they've hit pretty much every year. I forget the exact number, but the last number of years, that is a number that this Kutztown women's soccer team has been able to hit, and they are looking to do so there as well. They have Westchester this Wednesday, October the 22nd at 7 p.m. That is also their KU Food Pantry Drive dedicated game. So definitely make sure on Wednesday night, if you're not doing anything, get out there and go support the women's soccer team as they take on Westchester at 7 p.m. Then they'll have 2 more away matches. One will be at East Stroudsburg on October the 25th on Saturday. That will be a 4 p.m. start. And then they will be on the road next Wednesday at Bloomsburg at 4 p.m. before closing out the regular season with a home match against Shipp-Innsbruck. That will be on November the 5th, also a Wednesday. That's a little bit of an earlier start. That's a 3 p.m. kick before turning their attention to hopefully getting a nod for the PSAC tournament. They should, at second in the East, be pretty much a lock from here on out. But obviously, you drop 4, anything can happen. So certainly got to keep your eyes on the prize for this Kutztown women's soccer team. But November the 11th is when the quarterfinals of that tournament will start. The champion will be crowned November the 16th. And then the first round of the NCAA tournament will begin November 20th through the 23rd and go on from there. The national champion in Division II soccer will be crowned between December 11th and December 13th. If you start to look all the way there, we'll take a look at some of the statistics here for this women's soccer team before we'll shift gears and talk a little football before getting to field hockey and volleyball here on the Golden Hour. Again, I'm Tommy Scuderi here with you. If you are just joining us, Kutztown has scored 22 goals on the year to their opponent's 7, averaging just under 2 a game, 180 total shots, 15 a game in that margin. About 88 of those shots have been on goal. So just under 50% of the shots that they're taking are actually on goal. 3 yellow cards, no reds to their opponent's 6, 19 assists, 41 saves, 46 fouls, 90 corner kicks, and 1-for-1 on penalty kicks this year. Some of the leading scorers, we'll take a look there. The Corrine Morgan is the top goal scorer on this Kutztown offense. She has 7. Caroline McDonald has 4. Skylar Jordan has 2. Regan Sherba has 2. Sarah Bronco has 1. Sarah Erb has 1. Emma Gonzalez with 1. And really just down there, there's not a ton of consistent goal scorers aside from Morgan and Caroline McDonald with 7 and 4. But down there, the scoring is relatively spread out between a number of different players there. Natalie Ryan, Charlotte Rauch, Jenna Pitts, Autumn Ostringer, Emma Gonzalez, all getting their scoring on here as we take a look at where Kutztown sits for their soccer team in the conference. They are second in the PSAC East. They are 6-3-1 in conference play. We're just behind Shepherd at 5-1-5. A lot of draws for Shepherd, but 20 total points to Kutztown's 19. Kutztown just ahead of Westchester at 5-1-3 with 18 points, so that's a big time game upcoming for them. That game against Westchester could decide some crucial seeding over there in the PSAC East as the season starts to come to a close here. Bloomsburg is 4th in the East, Millersville 5th, East Stroudsburg 6th, Shippensburg 7th, Lockhaven 8th, and then Mansfield is 9th. 0-9 overall for Mansfield. Over in the West, Gannon has already secured a playoff spot there, as with Slippery Rock at 8-1, IUP 7-1. PSAC West has been deadly over there. It's been very top heavy. Edinburgh at 4-5, Clarion 3-5-1, Pitt Johnstown 2-5-2, California, Pennsylvania 0-7-2, and then Seton Hill 0-8-1 over there in the West. So the top 3 really beating on the bottom 5 has been what is going on there in the soccer world for Division 2. Looking at the PSAC, taking a look at the top 25. Gannon University, they've been a consistent top 25 team, really a top 10 team for a number of years. Kutztown actually beat them in the semifinals of the PSAC tournament last year, but they currently sit at 7th overall. Dallas Baptist University is the number 1 as per the most recent poll. Grand Valley State is 2. Minnesota State is 3. University of North Georgia is 4. Cal Poly is 5. University of West Florida, who's also a top football team, is at 6. Gannon at 7. And we'll go down from there. I believe Gannon and Bloomsburg, the only top 25 teams. Bloomsburg currently sitting at number 18. And then, Westchester is a top 25 team. They're at 24. Kutztown popped in and out of the top 25 last year, and have been there for a couple weeks this year, but ultimately not in the current top 25. They will see number 24 ranked Westchester this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. They get them at home. So definitely go out and support your Golden Bears as they take on a top 25 ranked team to try and secure positioning there in the PSAC West, as we look to see finally who are some leaders in conference play as we preview this matchup. Again, Corrine Morgan is 2nd in the conference in shots on goal. Kiana Barber for Westchester is 3rd, so that'll be another nice battle to see there between Morgan and Barber. Lindsey Balmer is also 6th in the PSAC in shots. As we go to goals, we'll go down. Corrine Morgan drops. She's getting a lot of shots. 8th in the conference in goals. Cleany Barber goes down to 10, as IUP, Gannon, Edinburgh, and Shepherd all round out the top of the goals for individual leaders in PSAC play. But ultimately, 4 matches left to try and secure at least 2 wins goal-wise for the team. But, if you can take all 4, now you get yourself in favorable position. You start thinking postseason. Postseason there. So a lot of things to like for this soccer program. That will conclude our coverage of women's soccer here today on the Golden Hour. Again, it's Monday, October 20th. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm Tommy Scuderi here with you on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown. We will turn our attention to Kutztown football, who had another big win this week as well. We had it for you on KUR, which coverage update. We will have live play-by-play of every single Kutztown football game from here on out till the end of the season, barring any executive overrides there. Maybe as if Kutztown gets deep into the postseason, maybe there's some trouble, depending on where they go. But the plan is, if they're going to McKinney, Texas, KUR is going to McKinney, Texas. So obviously that's way bits away. But we will quickly look at this Millersville game where Kutztown won 43-14 on homecoming. It's actually the most points they've allowed this season. They allowed 14 to Assumption. That tied their record. They allowed 14 to Millersville. Both of those really coming in garbage time. It was Kutztown led 43-0 midway through the third quarter. So that game was pretty much all locked up there. But something I really want to point out is just the scoring difference between Kutztown and their opponents. They've scored 306 total points through the first 7 games of the season, and they've allowed 52. And a lot of those have really come in garbage time. Like if you take a look at the schedule here, which I'll pull up again. Assumption, they had 14. Assumption, I will give them that. Assumption, those 14 points came against the starters. I won't sit here and lie to you. Kutztown did pull away, but they scored against the starters. Shutout Edinburgh, Gannon on Family Day. Those points came. Actually, I want to say against the starters as well. So that's 21. Shepherd, those 10 points, garbage time. Shippensburg shutout. Lockhaven, those 7 points, garbage time. Millersville, those 14 points, garbage time. So 21 true allowed. The rest have been pretty much in garbage time against second or third teamers. So this has been a really good Kutztown defense. I want to check and see. I checked before the show to see if the D2 rankings of the week have come out from the AFC. They hadn't yet. I'll check now. Now they have. Kutztown is still at 4. West Florida, who has played 2 top 25 teams, which Kutztown does not, is above them at 3. D2football.com does not give West Florida a ton of respect. Kutztown's been at 3 in those D2football.com rankings for weeks now. But AFCA had Kutztown behind Slippery Rock at one point, and also West Florida. But they've now moved up. Ferris State, obviously, the number 1. They played a top 25 Michigan Tech team and beat them. Harding had a bit of a low-scoring match, 35-10 over Henderson University, but ultimately, we're able to get by them. I think it was like, I want to say it was like 10-3 or something in the second quarter when I checked. And Harding is a team that has kind of been killing teams. They've scored 719 total points on the year, or I don't think that's actual points. I'm pretty sure that's points voting wise, what they receive from different coaches. So scratch that. I'll double check, but it is a lot of points they've scored. It might be right around 719. I'll get some Harding stats up there. Let's take a look here, because I love looking at Harding. They're down in Arkansas. If you haven't heard me talk about them before, they're such a fascinating team because they run a wing T offense, which if you don't know, it's basically just you don't throw the ball ever. You have wide receivers and you have tight ends. You basically put 9 people right on the line of scrimmage. You have a quarterback or running back. You get creative with it, but essentially you just run the ball every play. Is what it is. And they won the national championship in 2022. They've been national contenders for years. So the fact that they can do what they've done basically without a passing game, and it's not necessarily that they don't have a passing game. It's they don't need one, right? It's like it's never been something they've had to do. They've just recruited great runners. They've scored, 294 total points, and they've only allowed 43. And their defense is also fantastic, which also allows some of this as well. I would imagine if they had to play from behind, Harding might run into a little bit of trouble, but they've literally almost never had to do it because they've just been up because their defense is fantastic and their offense can just run the ball. But really the biggest weakness for the Harding team is a hypothetical, okay, what if they're down and they're really forced to throw? Would they be able to do it? Which the answer is probably not. Their starting quarterback, Cole Kevin, has only thrown Kalon, excuse me, Cole Kalon has only thrown 21 passes. He's completed 11 of them, about 52%, about 190 yards total with only one touchdown. I mean, those are game stats for pretty much any other quarterback, and that's his season stats because they just don't run the ball, right? Or they don't throw the ball, excuse me. And you look at his rushing yards, that's where it all comes from. He has 275 rushing yards on the year, 56 carries. Andrew Miller, one of their starting running backs, has 790. Braden Jay has 665. Like, and there's not really any one big rusher. They have, let's do a quick count here. They have 9 rushers with over 100 yards. I mean, how many other teams can say that you had 9 rushers with over 100 yards for Harding? So Harding's a team I always am fascinated with because it's just such an experiment almost on how does this team actually work, only running the ball, and it works well. So they're number 2 in the country. Ferris State's still number 1. Ferris State basically will be number 1 until they lose a game, essentially. Like they're even if they have a close call, which they really have not, they'll be number 1 until they win a game, or they lose a game, basically. But they play in a tough conference. They're a tough super region. They have Grand Valley State. Grand Valley State's giving them a run for their money. Over the last couple of years, they have them this Saturday, October 25th at 1:00. That's a game to keep an eye on. Really, the prayer for Kutztown, right, is all right. If you start thinking this is a team that can really do some damage, because Ferris State, they have Northern Michigan, Saginaw Valley, and Davenport. They're not losing any of those teams. So the last real test of Ferris State, barring, I mean, any given Saturday, right? But realistically, they shouldn't. The last real test of the year going in the regular season for Ferris State is Grand Valley State, which is always a great game between the two of them. So really, if you're Kutztown, the hope is, right, if you think that this is a team that can make a deep postseason run, at the very least, through your super region, which if you are unfamiliar with how the Division II playoffs work in football, it's recently expanded. It went from 28 teams to now 32 teams. So there are 16 conferences in Division II all over the country. Now, if no matter what, if you win your conference, you're in. So this is the first year that there will be 16 automatic bids given to playoff teams. So I actually think that expands. So I think it used to be 7 per super region. It would now be 8 teams per super region. So there's no more first round bye. If you win your conference, you're in. I want to get what the super region 1 is. I forget. I know it's the PSAC. It's like the MEC. And there's a couple other conferences. I want to check. I'll pull it up for you here. Because they did change. So we'll see what the realignment says. Sorry, it's tough. The D2 football website can be so brutal. Because they outsource pretty much all their media to like some other sites, but then the other sites can be inaccurate. They don't update it. So it leaves some things to be desired. I'm just trying to find, there was an article that I was looking at a while back where I learned about this. Okay, Super Region 1, the CIAA, the MEC, the NE10, and the PSAC. So the NE10 are your teams like Assumption every year is out of the NE10. MEC, Charleston. Kutztown has seen Charleston a couple times. They're in West Virginia. The MEC, CIAA, I'm actually not familiar with the CIAA. I've never seen what teams came out of there. But their conference winner will get an auto bid. And then the PSAC, which the PSAC typically gets 2 or 3 teams. Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association is the CIAA. I don't know what teams those are. Let me actually take a look. Because I have actually never heard of that conference in my life. The Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association. Oh, I know what this is. This is Virginia Union, Fayetteville State, Bluefield State, Livingston, Bowie State. Bowie State we see mostly in volleyball. We've seen them a few times. And Lincoln, PA, are done volleyball. So that is where they're at. So they're over in the Philly-ish area, generally speaking. Super Region 2, Conference Carolinas, which is a new conference, which is kind of the reason for this expansion in the first place. The Gulf South Conference, South Atlantic Conference, and the SIAC. Those are Super Region 2 is it's not a bad region, but typically um, not. It's usually 3 and 4 that are like the go-to um, super region. So super region 3 has the Great Lakes, the GLIAC, the Great Lakes Valley Conference. Those are your Michigan schools. Michigan seems to run Division 2 and or the FCS. The Great Midwest Atlantic Conference and the Northern Sun. I believe Ferris State is in the GLIAC. GLIAC is how that is spelled. Um, they've been the go-to um, number one team in football for forever. Um, but anyway, I got on a tangent. All this to say that the way that the playoffs work is 32 teams, 4 super regions, no more first round bye. So even if you're the 1 seed, you'll just play the 8 seed. Um, so if you, I think it's 4 games now. You have to win 4 games to win a national championship. Additionally, the first round, second round, quarters. I think it's 5. Uh, First, second, quarter, semi. Yeah, so if you have to win 5 extra games if you want to win a national championship now. It used to be 4 because you would get a first round bye sometimes, um, and there'd be 1 extra round. But basically, what happens is once you those up until the quarterfinals, those you're just playing teams in your super region. Once you get to the semis, those are the 4 champions from each super region. They get reseeded, and then the highest seed host, and then you go out there. So the reason that Kutztown should keep an eye on this Ferris State and Grand Valley State game is we've seen nothing to suggest that Kutztown will move further than a 3 seed if Harding, Ferris State, and KU all get through this stretch, or even a 4 seed if West Florida down there, who is in Super Region 2, um, gets through. So if it's so, let's say all right, the playoffs. There's no upsets, and it's Ferris State, Harding, West Florida, Kutztown. Those are your 4 teams left in Super Region 2 in a month or change time. Obviously, um, I'll knock on wood. It's too early to say Kutztown's just going to get through as all those teams. But in this hypothetical situation, we'll say that's how it goes. They're all the 1 seeds. They go their way. They win their super regions. Kutztown, with the current scheduling, unless something were to change, I would have to imagine would probably be the 3, maybe even the 4 seed, because they don't have as many ranked wins. East Stroudsburg's not ranked. None of the teams that they played are ranked. IUP could be seen as a very tough win if they were to see IUP in the PSAC championship game, which I'd have to look. I have to think that Kutztown is well on their way to securing PSAC East. I would say that I don't know the exact breakdown, but the only team that's really on their heels is East Stroudsburg. I would have to think if they beat East Stroudsburg, then that game against Bloomsburg, which is before their final home game of the season, would probably be to secure the East, and then they'll have to wait to see who gets out of the West. East Stroudsburg, they have 1 loss. They did trip up to Edinburgh, who Kutztown beat, but they will have an opportunity next week to get the Golden Bears, and if Kutztown is able to beat Westchester, East Stroudsburg, I don't see who they're playing, but if they go in 7-1, Kutztown's 8-0. A win could potentially put East Stroudsburg over Kutztown, would drop them in the national rankings for sure, but also in the PSAC East. So East Stroudsburg would be playing for a PSAC title. Kutztown wouldn't get the opportunity. Kutztown would definitely still get that large bid in the national championship or the national tournament. But that East Stroudsburg game is going to be big. Kutztown has handled East Stroudsburg in the past, but they're always playing tough. They're still a really good football team. So that's kind of been the game to watch all season is Kutztown versus East Stroudsburg. That will be on November the 1st. So not next week, but the week after. Or this Saturday, but next Saturday is when that will be a crucial game. So if you're around on campus November 1st, definitely come out to Andre Reed Stadium, get loud, help cheer on your Golden Bears. But essentially, right, getting back to my point that I got pulled away from, Kutztown is not as any ranked wins, so they could potentially be as low as the 4 seed, and now they have to go out to Michigan and play Ferris State, the 1 seed, in the semifinals, which is not impossible. Slippery Rock went out and they played them really close, but ultimately fell short. Ferris State would win the national championship again. But if you're Kutztown, right, you're hoping, all right, maybe Ferris State drops a game. Obviously, you hope one of those, you hope Harding, any tough team loses to some underdog that you like your odds against better. But even if, let's say, Fair State loses now to Grand Valley State, they probably still will go on a rampage in the postseason. But now they have a loss. If you're unbeaten, when those seeds get reshuffled, even if they win their Super Region 3, you can make a case, all right, well, now Kutztown should be the 1 or the 2 seed. Now they get to host this semifinal game. And now Ferris State, a tough team, has to come to them. They have to, get on the plane and fly out to Pennsylvania instead of Kutztown getting on the plane and going to Michigan, or like in 2023, they had to fly cross country to Colorado because of the way seeding went. So that really is the advantage. That's why all this matters now. Obviously, you still have to play the games. Like if you're on the road, all right, you're on the road. You still got to win. If you win, you win. Yeah, that's what it is. But the reason we keep an eye on that is this starts to look like a special team here for this football program. Now all of a sudden, okay, we can start thinking about these things. Now if, Harding drops a game or Fair State drops a game or there's an upset there, now the path is wide open. Potentially the only chance you have to travel, if let's say you make it through the playoffs, you have home field advantage all the way through the semifinals. Now the only away game is a potential national championship game, which is at a neutral site in McKinney, Texas. So that's why we start to take a peek at these things. And I think next week, super regional rankings will start to come out. Typically the last 3 weeks of the season or so, every week they'll update the rankings at the Division 2 level. So, this team currently has the 1 seed. We'll see if that moves. We had a selection show last year. I think it was Sunday at like 6:30 after the PSAC championship game. They go through once all the games conclude. There's a committee. They go on. They seed everything. And then they say, all right, who's going to be the 1 seed in the playoffs? Who's going to be, who's in, who's out? A little bit less drama than we saw at the Division 1 FBS level, who I still think has the dumbest playoff system in all of sports. Why that they've only just expanded to 8 teams, 12 teams. What is it now? The fact that it was a 4-team playoff system, but there was 5 major conferences was ridiculous. While we're on the topic, Florida State should have been in over Alabama in 2023. I don't care about the bowl game. I don't care about they lost 63-3 to Georgia with 1 million opt-outs. I don't care. Florida State should have been in despite the injury to Jordan Travis. Anyway, we'll get back to relevant Kutztown athletics here. So that's why we keep an eye on things in the national picture. Kutztown. So anyway, this was a big end-around way of saying Kutztown's still the 4 seed behind West Florida, Harding, and Ferris State, who are all in different super regions. Which another reason the super region realignment can be kind of tough, and I think a reason it happened this way. Ferris State and Harding used to be in the same region. So they played each other in like the quarterfinals last year, or like the second round, which that's a big time matchup that I think Division 2 was like, we kind of want to, if that's going to be the matchup, we kind of want to save it till like the semifinals now. So we, those games are broadcast on ESPN. The Division 2 National Championship usually gets on ESPN2. The ESPN games, I think it was ESPN Plus or like ESPN News or something, but still, it was nationally televised. We want to show a big time matchup in the semifinals, so that's part of it. But it was also great because, all right, you can look at Ferris State and Harding; they're in the same super region. They got to go through each other, right? So as long as Kutztown wins the game in front of them, they'll just get the beaten up version of whoever comes out on top of there. But now they're in separate super regions, is Harding and Ferris State. So that's a bit less of a possibility. But we'll turn back to the conference. We'll get back to earth here. We can speculate all we want about national championships and how great would it be, but what's important is Kutztown won homecoming 43-14. They are 7-0 on the year as they turn their attention to Westchester. Again, that's a game we will be at in KUR. We'll give you a little box score recap. But before we do that, this is the new thing that we have here, is we have highlights. I patched together some different highlights there from the Middlesbrough game from our radio call. If you're watching on this YouTube for Golden Hour, you'll see some video as well. But we'll play these highlights now for you. So if you weren't able to listen to Kutztown versus Middlesbrough on homecoming, here's what you missed. Patrick Fulganetti will come in. Heavy step for Kutztown. Ryan Schrenecki's the fullback as it hands up the middle to Steven Burkhardt, who crosses the plane, and he's in for the first touchdown of the game. So a whole heavy set on the field. Ryan Schrenecki was subbed out by Patrick Fulganetti, went in the fullback position. Handoff went up the middle to Steven Burkhardt, who would waltz in untouched for a touchdown. Kutztown on top 6-0, pending the extra point to make it 7-0 here in the first quarter. Heavy set in the backfield. Zillette will keep it. Drop back. Pass is tipped. Goes back to him. And Zillette is nailed and brought down, but a flag comes in. So he was dropped in the end zone, but Ryan Zillette was pummeled.
His helmet was...
Oh my goodness. So the pass was deflected at the line of scrimmage.
He's sitting up at least.
He caught his own pass and was rocked. And it's Tyreen Heinsohn, that was the receiver, number 82, is in off the left. Steven Burkhardt takes it, moves his way left, up to the 5, and crosses the plane untouched. Another Kutztown touchdown. They extend their lead once again, 15-0. They lead over Millersville. This time they do convert on the red zone trip after coming up empty on the previous drive before forcing the safety. Steven Burkhardt takes the handoff, worked his way left, and ultimately was in for 6. So now Campbell will try to make it 16-0. Preston still lone receiver out to the left. Novak will keep it on the bootleg. Maxwell's in the flat, gets the pass, and he's in. And there it is. I mean, we're getting predictable. What do? You play action. Yeah. You move Novak out left. Throws it to Maxwell, who snuck across the field on the slant. Gets it in, and Luke Maxwell has his 5th touchdown of the year. 5 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Kutztown on top 22-0. 2 receivers right, 1 left. Hunsinger drops back, facing some pressure, steps up in the pocket, ball comes out again, and this time Kutztown falls on it. Freddie Redder had that ball bounce right to him. In Millersville with a costly turnover on their own side of the field, 2 straight fumbles. This time they're not as lucky, and Kutztown will get another chance to punch in another score here with a drive starting in Millersville territory. We'll start at the Marauder 37-yard line with Kutztown leading 23-0 here. I formation. Luke Maxwell the fullback, Steven Burkhardt the running back. Handoff goes up to Lily Maxwell, and he's in, untouched almost, for the touchdown. 1-yard touchdown by Luke Maxwell, his 2nd of the day, 6th of the year. 1 receiving, 1 rushing, 29-0, Kutztown on top. And oh my goodness, Cunningham's going to go out in the flat. Ryan Chernecki is in the shotgun to Novak's right, the left tackle. Going to be a direct handoff to Chernecki. Chernecki downhill, and Ryan Chernecki will punch it in to score. Oh my goodness. And he races down the sideline, right down the track. What a burst of speed by Ryan Chernecki. Novak takes a snap and drops back, fires wide open is Prochaski at the 30, up to the 20, 1 man the beat, steps inside 10, 5, touchdown. 1 play, a huge miscue by Millersville. Rich Prochaski was wide open, only had 1 man the beat, put on the burners, took it all the way for the touchdown. Was in at the fullback, a new package I had never seen before. But he was in at the fullback position all day. Decided, all right, we're going to go out in motion here in the third quarter. Eli Cunningham, the running back, went in slot left at the receiver. Shredecki moved in the shotgun to Novak's right, just took a handoff, went off tackle. It's not like he went up the middle. You know, he's 6'8", 330. You think, all right, we're going to go downhill. Nope. He raced to the edge, burst the speed, and ultimately scored the touchdown there against Millersville. But Kutztown takes down the Marauders 43-14 over on homecoming. That was this Saturday. We'll quickly look at the box score before we shift gears to talk about field hockey and volleyball before we close things out here on the Golden Hour as we pull up the stats here. Kutztown had 29 first downs, 11 of them rushing, 15 passing, only 3 awarded through penalty. They had 183 total rushing yards on 44 attempts, average about 4.5 yards a carry. Passing-wise, they had 325 passing yards, 25 completions on 33 attempts, 1 interception. That did come from Antonio Russo in garbage time once the substitutes were put in for KU. But 508 total yards of offense compared to Millersville's 208 as we look at some individual stats there. Judd Novak had another great day. He was 21 of 28 passing for 287 total yards. 2 touchdowns, had a 59-yard bomb to Rich Prochaski that you heard the final play of that highlight tape there. Did take a sack. It was only his 5th sack of the season. Tony Russo came in, went 4 for 5 for 38 yards, threw a pick, had a long of 17, and then took a sack as well. But Steven Burkhardt was the leading rusher with 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 12, averaging 5 yards a carry. Ben Martin III had 32 total yards. Judd Novak had 27. Eli Cunningham had 23. Russo had 3. Maxwell had 2. And then Ryan Chernecki, the first time that he got in this stat column with his rushing stats, he had 2 yards gained there and a touchdown. Yeah, well, I mean, what a season for Ryan Chernecki. I mean, he's a running back now. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, obviously pulling up his stats to double. Yeah, he didn't have any rushing statistics. His first 4 years here, but in his fifth year, the redshirt senior, he gets his first score, his first touchdown, on his first carry. I mean, you got to think you retire that, right? You're like, I only need 1 carry to score. I'm good. But ultimately, a really good day for Kutztown. They was a little bit shaky in the first quarter. That's kind of just us being nitpicky because they were still up 29-0 over Millersville. But they got stuffed on a couple of fourth downs that you don't love to see. They went for it on 4th and goal and got stopped from the 2-yard line. And then on 4th and 1, a handoff up the middle to Luke Maxwell, who ultimately had the ball punched free and turned over there. So some things that you don't love to see made from Kutztown, especially against a weaker Millersville team. But ultimately still, a dominating win, and they turn their attention to Westchester this Saturday. But we will now shift gears to Kutztown field hockey and then volleyball before we close out the show here today. Went a little bit long on the football segment because of the soccer interview, but that's all right. We can speed run this here. Kutztown field hockey still unbeaten. The only unbeaten team in the land, I believe. There might be one more. It might be like Newberry College, I think. Pull up the top 25, and I'll fact check that before I just say that as true over the air here. But Kutztown, they were down in the rankings to number 2 because Shippensburg had some impressive weeks and really pulled ahead. But as of October 14th, yeah, Kutztown still 12-0. They've moved up twice since then. I'll check on Newberry College, who's 10-0 with a 3 seed. We'll see if they're still unbeaten. I believe they are, but it's something we will check. Sorry, Division 2 level, there's not like an ESPN where you just go on the app and you got to go to each website and all that. But yeah, Newberry College still 12-0, unbeaten. They have a few games left against Wingate, Converse, Coker, and Belmont Abbey before they go into their tournament. So one of 2 unbeaten teams left in the country, Newberry College and Kutztown. Kutztown 14-0 as Aaron Gonzalez hit 100 career points in the win over Slippery Rock on Saturday. That started off homecoming at 10 a.m. They won 7-0. They beat Westchester 3-1, IUP 3-0. Number 6, Bloomsburg 2. Yeah, they're on a 14-game win streak. That's the longest in program history as they have Millersville, Frostburg State, Maryville, and then a big game against Shippensburg. But that Shippensburg game, I believe Shippensburg dropped another game. So it might not even be – we expect that to really be like the deciding factor. Shippensburg going to be still a tough team. You don't want to look past it. But the game might not even have as much meaning as we initially thought it would a couple weeks ago because Shippensburg went down. But still the 2 seed per recent poll. They might go a little bit further down. But ultimately, yeah, they're 12-2 as they lost to Bloomsburg in overtime, double overtime actually. Obviously, you don't want to look past Shippensburg just because they have 2 losses does not mean they're any less dangerous. They're still, a top 3 team at least, in my opinion, in the country. But Kutztown gets them in the final game of the regular season on November the 1st. That will be a busy day at Andre Reed. It'll be East Stroudsburg, Kutztown, which will be a great game. And then field hockey will be Kutztown, Shippensburg, field hockey as well at 5 p.m. So to come out to that day on November 1st, that's going to be a big time day for the Golden Bears in a multitude of sports. Come cheer them on. Hopefully by that point, Kutztown will still be defending a perfect season, a perfect regular season, and on their way to try and get back to the national championship game. It would be their 3rd straight appearance in the Natty if they're able to do so. Because 79 goals to their opponents, about 5 goals a game. That's best in the country. 2 green cards, 53 assists, 28 saves, 77 total fouls, and 205 penalty corners. And they're 2 for 2 on penalty strokes. But we'll quickly go over and talk some volleyball before we close things out here on the Golden Hour. It's almost at 3 o'clock, which is when our show comes to an end here. I'm Tommy Scuderi here with you. As we are rounding things out, we had an interview with women's head soccer coach Erik Burstein, a little bit earlier, Easton guy, which I did not know. I'm a Phillipsburg native, so that's right there. If you know where Easton is, you know where Peaburg is. You know about the history of that rivalry there, but that's all right. I'll let it go that he's an Easton guy. Not that important. Ultimately, Kutztown Volleyball is 10-10 on the air. Again, they've been hovering right around 500 for a team that won one match last year. New head coach Jason Barshinger has them in the right direction. 2-4 in conference play, so you'd like to see that metric improve a little bit as they still have plenty of matches left on their season. They'll be at East Stroudsburg on October 24th on Friday, and then they'll come right back on Saturday to play East Stroudsburg, this time at home for their Dig Pink game at the Keystone Arena. They'll have Bloomsburg on Halloween, Lock Haven on November the 1st the next day, and then they'll be on the road against Westchester Millersville before being back home against Shepherd and Shippensburg on Senior Day. So that's how things are looking for the volleyball team at 10-10. As they try to break what has been a lengthy playoff drought. They have not been there in the postseason since 2011, has this Kutztown volleyball program. They try and break it here, but ultimately, even if they don't, right, a year after winning one match, the fact that they're 10-10 overall, they've been 500 for as long as they have with such a young team. This is a volleyball team that I think is going to be very dangerous in the next year or two. So definitely keep an eye on those guys as they look ahead to East Stroudsburg for their next game. But that will do it for us here on the Golden Hour. I've been Tommy Scuderi here with you. We've talked football, we've talked volleyball, soccer, and field hockey, all doing very well as the fall sports are starting to get to the end of the season here. But that's all right. We will have we got basketball to talk about in the winter. We have wrestling. There's plenty of other sports that we can get into, and then we'll turn our attention to the spring as well when we start getting lacrosse, baseball, softball, and all that jazz there. But I've been Tommy Scuderi here with you. Definitely excited for basketball season to get kicked underway, but really loving how fall sports are doing here as the weather finally starts to feel a little bit more like fall, a little bit towards winter. I think it was like 36 degrees or something this morning. It's finally cold. I'm tired of sweating my butt off. I know everyone else out there is as well, unless you love the heat, in which case, sorry. It's October 20th. It's got to get cold sometime. But it's officially Halloween season, right? I don't necessarily say all of October is Halloween season. I give it like the first week, and then I'm like, all right, now we're like truly in Halloween season because you can't celebrate Halloween for a whole month. I feel like because then there's those people that go right to Christmas and they skip over Thanksgiving. You can't skip Thanksgiving. But all that's not important, right? What is important is that will conclude today's episode of the Golden Hour. I've been Tommy Scuderi here with you. Appreciate you all joining me, listening to me ramble about sports for an hour. Thank you again to Coach Burstein. That was on the first 20 minutes of this show. Had a great interview. If you missed it, this episode will be up on the Spotify or Podbean for KUR. Will also be on the Golden Hour YouTube channel, so you can check it out there. Also follow the Golden Hour Instagram account at the Golden Hour KUR. Definitely give it a follow. Post all kinds of clips and stuff from there as well. But it's officially 3 o'clock, so we will send you back to your regular music here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown.